are going to continue on in our study of Genesis. We are getting into kind of the home stretch here. We are with the character that we are going to be with for actually the rest of Genesis. He is probably one of the characters that gets the most ink in the Bible, really, is going to be our pal Jacob. Probably other than like Moses, King David, and Jesus himself, Jacob is one of the ones that is written about the most. I would venture to say that the rest of the Genesis narrative is based on the growth of Jacob. Even in the story of Joseph, we find growth in Jacob. So get used to him, get to know him, because Jacob is going to be our friend and our last patriarch that we work throughout the rest of Genesis. But don't worry, his story is incredibly fascinating, incredibly powerful. Like I said last week, Jacob is one of my favorite characters of the Bible because we get to see very much his growth as a human being throughout his life. He is one of the very few characters in the Bible that we get the entire narrative of him from birth till death. So we are going to follow him for the rest of Genesis chapters, and it is a fascinating story for sure. Before we get into that, we need to talk about some prayer requests. If you have not gotten them, Melvin has taken it upon himself very, very greatly to give us some prayer request lists. So you can kind of look over that and make sure that we have everybody we need. But if not, go ahead, Stan.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank everybody for all your prayers. There's been out from my sister and my daughter. And my sister passed away on the 30th. So she's no longer with us, but praise God, she's no longer suffering either. So that's a good thing. She passed away at 59.
Mm-hmm.
But thank everybody for all your prayers and your support.
Yes, so Stan's sister passed away, but it had been a long illness. Is that correct?
She had kidney failure and liver failure.
Yeah.
At the same time, and being a full-blown diabetic didn't help matters any either. And so when she started going downhill, it just went.
It was fast. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, of course, really sorry to hear that, but also glad that she's not suffering.
It's the same thing that he had with his sister and family. I have a niece, but this sister.
Your niece?
She's my niece.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And she had the problem with that kidney, and they operated. They thought she was going to pull out. She didn't. And in her lung was all fouled up. But she never been able to pull out for nearly 2 months. Got out of the hospital, came home, and about a week or two that when final end, March 30th, that Sunday.
Yes.
The end of that. And so it happened at 4 a.m. But I appreciate all of your prayer, please. And you're welcome to come on that 29th up down here on Bill Eisenhower.
Yes, yeah. Eisenhower Funeral Home on Friday at what time? 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. Okay. Yes, yeah. So have some grief in the family. Linda.
Jimmy Lane is getting knee replacement Monday.
Wow.
Okay, Jimmy Lane getting knee replacement. Okay. Yeah.
Melba Vance had RSV and was in the hospital for a week. She's home now, but she's on oxygen. She's still not doing well.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, Melba. Yeah.
I just have a blessing I want to share. We have some new neighbors, and they have 5 kids, but today now they have 6. And they're just a delightful, positive, warm, friendly family.
Okay,
And
yeah.
it's just a blessing. So
Yes,
we have new friends.
Yes, that's
Some of them
excellent.
are my age that are the kids.
We finally have.
And they just had another one?
Just today.
Yeah.
Actually, it's Isaac, and they know his name means laughter, and this is April 1st. And
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, yes. Okay, wow, that's juicy. Okay, yes, yeah, okay. So Isaac was born on April 1st. That's really fun. Okay. Anything else? Oh, what did you had an operation
Yeah, it was.
on your
big
carpal tunnel?
deal. Yeah, carpal and cubital tunnel syndrome.
Okay, yes, yeah. But the better news,
I'm here.
you're here, and what happened?
I got baptized.
Yes, yeah, you got baptized yesterday, right?
Don
Yes,
wanted to drown me. Yes.
yes, yeah. That's
survived.
Yes.
right. Yes, yeah, yeah. Well, it's like if
That
you
means you're
drown in a baptism, that's got to be like straight up, right? So yes, we are super excited for our new sister in Christ. So definitely give her a congratulations and a hug for joining the family of God yesterday. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and have a prayer. Father, we love you, and we thank you so much once again for this time together that we get to focus on your word as a family, as we get to learn more about you and learn more about the servants that served you so long ago. God, we have a lot of people on our hearts. We have a lot of people that are grieving from losses, and we know that losing family members is absolutely never easy. And we ask that you give them comfort and you give them a place to grieve and space to grieve, and help them to know that we are here for them, that we want to encourage them and love them through this incredibly tough time. God, we also have many people who are going through health struggles and sicknesses, and God, we ask that you put your healing into them, that you give the doctors wisdom and skill to heal them. And most importantly, God, we ask that you give us a spirit of encouragement for them, to let them know that you love them and that we love them as image bearers of you. God, once again, we ask that you bless this time that we take in your word this evening. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We are once again starting our study in Genesis. Like I said before, we are kind of in our home stretch. We have met the character that we are going to be with for the rest of our journey through Genesis. And his name is Jacob, or in Hebrew, if you meet a Jewish person, they are going to call him Yaakov. What are some interesting characteristics of Yaakov that we learned last week? Okay, yes, so he is quite the negotiator. I will give you this bowl of soup for your birthright, okay? Woo! All right, so I will give you this soup for your inheritance. Quite the wheeler and dealer. What else do we know about him? Okay, yes. So he is described in comparison to his brother Esau, for sure, that he is somewhat of a homebody. He dwells in the tents. We learned who else dwelled in the tents. Abraham, that's right. Okay, yeah, so he's taking after Grandpa in the fact that he dwells in tents, whereas Esau is a man of the field. That's right, yes. And we learned that, whenever we look at Hebrew literature, that the field is very much a place of chaos, a place of death. We are we are reminded of the Cain and Abel story. All happened in a field. What else do we know about Jacob?
He was a good cook, evidently.
Yes, so his soup is to die for, apparently. Yes, yeah, uh-huh. Okay, yes, so we have a little bit of favoritism going on in this family. Already, at the very beginning, some dysfunction. Who loves Jacob? Mommy. And who loves Esau? Daddy. So we also talked a little bit about how Dad's past might have played a part in why he's so drawn to Esau. Okay? Daddy's past is one of being tied to an altar and almost sacrificed. And so he is showing very classic signs of post-traumatic stress. And whenever you have this PTSD kind of or traumatic experience, you are drawn to someone of strength, someone activity, someone of a doer. Okay? I want to make that emphasis clear because that's going to come into play in our study this morning or this evening. Isaac was drawn to the doers because he himself was subject to a passive nature, and it traumatized him. He was very passive in the story of the Akedah, or the binding, and that traumatized him. So he is drawn to those that do, that are have strength. Okay? So daddy loves Esau, mommy loves Jacob. Jacob is a little bit more nuanced. He's a little bit more complicated. He is a tent dweller and hangs out with mom all the time. We learned a little bit that there is a deal, a transaction that happens between Jacob and Esau. Esau comes from a hunting trip and he says, I am so famished. Won't you give me some stew? And Jacob says, only for your birthright. And what does Esau say? Anyone remember the drama queen? Yeah, I'm gonna die. I'm so hungry. I'm gonna die. What use is this birthright to me if I'm dead? And yes, yeah. So we also learn a little bit about both of them, that they are very, very extreme in their natures. Esau is very, very extreme in the here and now. He cannot see past his own nose. What he needs right now, or else he's going to die. Whereas Jacob is the extreme in the long view. He takes a long view of everything. He says, well, I can give up some stew as long as I get the birthright. All right? We also learn that Rebecca, who's Rebecca? The mom, right? Rebecca has some knowledge. What is this knowledge that she has?
That Isaac told Esau to do something.
Well, she has that knowledge, and you're absolutely right. But she has some what? Yes, she has this knowledge of a prophecy that God has told her that the older will serve the younger. And we actually talked a little bit about how it does not seem like she shared that with Isaac. Or if she did, Isaac did not take it seriously.
He wasn't listening.
Yeah, he probably was God doesn't talk to women. So, whatever. She's just trying to get her favorite and a leg up. Whatever the case may be, Isaac doesn't seem to put a whole lot of stock into it. Rebecca seems to. And that is going to play a part in the story we talk about next. So, want to make sure that we know absolutely the difference between what is going on here. So, in the first story, Esau sells his birthright. This would be, in Hebrew, the Bakora, okay? The Bakora. That is the birthright, and that is the legal right of the firstborn. Remember, in Hebrew inheritance law, the firstborn is given a double portion. So, for instance, if you had 4 children, you would actually split your estate 5 ways. And the firstborn would get 2 portions. So in this case, since there are 2 children, Isaac would split his estate 3 ways, with Esau getting 2/3 and Isaac getting 1/3. Or Jacob, yeah, that's right, sorry. Now it's switched. With Esau selling his birthright, Jacob now gets 2/3, and Esau gets 1/3, supposedly. That is the Bakora, and it is a very horizontal transfer. It is worldly, it is legal. We are going to talk next about the Baraka. Okay? The Baraka is the vertical transfer. What might I be talking about? The covenant. Okay? This is all about my stuff. But this is about the covenant. Who is going to have God's blessing? Who is going to have God's covenant? When's the last time we thought about this? Anyone remember? I'll give you a hint. Isaac, yeah! Isaac had to fight a little bit for this. Isaac and Ishmael. That was the first conflict of who was going to get it. And Abraham was so careful about it that he sent all his other sons away to make sure that Isaac got this. Not necessarily this, but this. And now we're going to have a fight over this again. Who gets to be God's chosen? Yes, but this is so fascinating. We just got to read it. Okay, Genesis chapter 27. Genesis chapter 27. We're going to read this whole story and ask our usual questions. What's weird, what doesn't make sense, and what repeats itself, okay? Verse 1 of chapter 27. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." Who else answers, "Here I am"? Abraham. Who else? Samuel. Who else? Isaiah. Who else? Adam. Who else? I don't know if Jesus actually says that, but that's interesting to talk about. Isaac. Here I am. Every patriarch. In fact, most main characters will say, "Here I am." Whenever you see that, I want alarm bells to go off. Here I am. This is not the last time we're going to see "Here I am." Far from it. Here I am. He said, "Behold, I am old, and I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons and your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare for me delicious food such as I love, and bring it to me so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food, that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats, so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." But Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, "Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him, and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing." His mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go, bring them to me." Okay, keep that little thought in mind. Who's the mastermind behind the plan? Mommy! Rebekah! What do we know about Rebekah? What? So she's got a little bit of Laban in her, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, so whoever their father was, strong genes in that. What else do we know about Rebekah?
She's knowledgeable about something.
Yes, okay, she's a smart lady.
She eavesdrops.
Yeah, she's a nosy little lady, isn't she? What else do we know?
She believes what God says.
She was chosen.
She was chosen. She's a doer. Okay? We know for a fact that she believes that she is in control. Much like most women I know.
Does seem to be independent because she was okay with leaving her family and everything.
Yes. And she is the... Before Esau says, here I am, who's the last person to say, here I am? Rebecca. So, interesting. So, we know a little bit about who Rebecca is, and so this behavior should not surprise us. But she's the mastermind, and she says, let the curse be on me if this all blows up. Okay? So he went and took them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared delicious food such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the young goats she put in his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. So he went into his house and said, my father. He said, here I am. Who are you, my son? Jacob said to his father. I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me. But Isaac said to his son, how is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? He said, because the Lord your God granted me success. Then Isaac said to Jacob, please come near me, that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not. So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him, and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, are you really my son Esau? And he answered, I am. Then he said, bring it near to me that I may eat of my son's game and bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father, Isaac, said to him, come near me and kiss me, my son. So that he came near and kissed him. And Isaac smelled of his garments and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is that of the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of the heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers. Yikes. And may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely, this is my favorite part of the story, when Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. All right. Anyone know the rest of the story? What happens?
A lot of weeping.
So that's actually a really salient detail that's going to come into play later. But Esau's first reaction is, what? I was gone for like 30 minutes. So Esau is devastated. And then he has time to think about it. And then what is he? Murderous rage. Yeah, okay. So first of all, he cries, and second of all, he says, time to kill me some Jacob. Okay? All right, so what is weird, what doesn't make sense, and what repeats itself? Yes, yeah. So the second blessing, if we were to read it, is a little bit weird. It almost stretches the imagination of the word blessing. Behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. Okay, so not super awesome. Yeah.
What would Jacob have expected to happen? What did he think Esau was going to do?
Yes. Okay, let's explore that for a second. What in the world did we expect to happen?
Oh, was Jacob mad at Rebekah?
Why? Okay, so okay. Why in this story at the end does Rebecca seem to say, Jacob, this is all your fault? Okay, so either Rebecca is a blame shifter of the highest degree.
She's the greatest con artist.
Yes, yeah, she is the sister of Laban if I ever saw one. Or something else might be happening.
Well, let me just interject that bear in mind, we don't know the tone of voice or anything, and I mean, we
Sure.
project those things into the text.
Yes, yeah, and so it's hard to know how things were said, but it does seem to suggest that Rebecca is saying, Jacob, you really blew it up this time. And Jacob seems to think, Mommy, this was your idea. So we have a little bit of rift in paradise here. There is some things to suggest. So first of all, what might Rebecca's motivation be?
The promise.
The motivation might be pure here. Okay? She knows from God that Esau is not meant to carry the covenant.
So she was just helping him?
I think that's how she will probably defend herself in front of the Lord, don't you?
I don't think it was helping God. I think she was keeping Isaac from making the wrong decision.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of good perspectives that we can take on Rebecca. It could be that Rebecca was trying to keep her husband from making a mistake. She could have been trying to keep the will of God intact. However, did she go about it correctly?
Well, there's some lies told.
We can all agree this was not the way to do it. Okay?
What about Jacob lying? It was an absolute lie for him to say I'm Esau.
Okay, so my friend Linda is picking up on something.
That Jacob's a liar.
That oh yes, yeah. So not necessarily that. I think we all know Jacob is a kind of mischievous. In fact, his name is deceiver, usurper, heel holder. However, in the Midrash, or in the Jewish commentary text, there are some rabbis that are going to suggest that it was not Rebekah's plan to necessarily deceive Isaac. I know, and everybody's like, that's stupid. She's got the hair on the arms? What was the point then? Yeah, it's very deceiving. Okay, but here's some fun things. Let's look at the text for a second. What does Isaac say? What? About anything. At the beginning of this, what is Isaac's reaction that is weird?
I will be cursed if I'm found out.
Okay, yes. So Rebecca's actions are weird, and Jacob's actions are weird. I'm cursed if I'm found out. What is weird about Isaac?
Well,
Has anyone? Okay, yeah. Okay, so has anyone seen My Brother before? My Brother. He is about a foot taller than me. He sounds nothing like me. In fact, if I were to venture to say, we are a good approximation of Jacob and Esau. Okay?
You'd have to be Esau.
What?
You'd have to be Esau.
Because I'm red? That is just stereotypical. Okay, so even if my father is stone cold blind, is there any way in heaven or on earth I am deceiving my father that I am my brother who's a foot taller than me and quite honestly, quite hairier than I am. Even if I am wearing goat skin
And smell like it.
and put on his cologne, which is awful.
But Isaac was old. He was 40 when he married Rebecca.
Yeah, he was old, but I would venture to say, because what does he say?
You don't sound like
What does he say?
The voice is Jacob's.
The
but it
voice
feels
is
like
Jacob,
Esau.
but it feels like Esau. So, what is weird about this whole scenario?
Well,
He
there's a
knows
lot
his
of-
voice.
Yes! Isaac knows something weird is happening. At the very least, we can get from the text, this ain't right. Hannah, yeah.
He knows it's hinky, but he wants it to be Esau so bad that he just goes with it.
He also is conscious of time.
Okay,
As
yes.
someone who can't, who's blind.
Yes, so he knows the day of his death might come at any time. He so desperately wants it to be Esau.
Well, and the other thing is that they probably raised goats and lambs.
Uh-huh.
He was used to the taste of those. Game doesn't taste like that.
Right, yes. So here's the proposition that some rabbis are going to say. Oh, I'm sorry, what? Oh. Here's the proposition that some rabbis are going to say. There is about a 0.3% chance that this works. There is no way that this works. And so their thinking is that maybe Rebekah wasn't trying to make Isaac think Jacob was Esau, but was rather trying to tell Isaac that Jacob can be a doer. Jacob can be someone like Esau. Now, if that is the plan, what blows up?
Esau.
Well, first off, Esau comes into the picture. What does Jacob do that, if that's the plan, what does Jacob do that's not part of the plan? Deceives. Pretends to be Esau.
Well, he said, I am Esau.
Yeah.
Well, but that had to be part of Rebecca's plan because I don't think Jacob would have thought, oh, look, give me some of that goat hair you just,
Right, yeah. And so there's some details that are hard to reconcile here. And I think the biggest thing about the rabbis' interpretation is they wonder why Rebekah seems to lay the blame on Jacob. Where she obviously is willing to take the curse at the beginning of the plot, but then it blows up and she's like, Jacob, you got to get out of here. Yeah.
Well, you'd ask what's her motivation, and we explored the one possibility. The other possibility is she knew the characters of both of her kids.
Yes, yeah. So this is a complicated story, more complicated than we give it in 3rd grade Sunday school Bible class. Because we want to paint this as the old switcheroo. Whereas I think it is much more, at the very least, Rebekah has motivations that can be commendable. She knows that her son Esau is not covenant ready, but Jacob is. And so we are trying to, in essence, rescue the covenant.
Rebecca also has to answer to Isaac.
What?
Rebecca also has to talk to Isaac about it. She has to answer to him too.
Yeah, that's going to be awkward
They're
pillow
gonna
talk.
live together.
Yes, yeah. Yes, I don't know where he got the soup and the goats, man. Yeah. So, in any case, in a Western culture, we're going to ask, what's the big deal? What's the big deal about the blessing? And we talked a little bit about this last week, but words are creative force in Jewish culture. Remember, God created the world by words. Spoke it into being. So in Jewish culture, words are very, very important. They're not something that you can take back. They are creative force. So in a Western mind, we would like to think that if we bless the wrong child, we would be like, okay, well, just like flip-flop. I didn't mean it. My fingers were crossed. Takesies, backsies. In Jewish thought, that's not how it goes. You gave a blessing, and to be honest, this is a little extra sad because almost certainly Isaac had been praying over this blessing, had been meditating over this blessing. This blessing had probably been years and years and years in the making. And he gives it to the wrong one, supposedly. In his mind, he gives it to the wrong one.
Well, if he wasn't sure, he could have said, well, let's wait a minute. We'll just see what happens.
And that's the question of the story. If he knows something like, this is really weird, maybe we should wait a day. But he doesn't.
But we do that too. We don't wait on God.
Yes, yeah. And I think it goes back to Hannah's point. He so desperately wanted it to be Esau. He was so, and what do we know about Esau? He's very impulsive here and now. And so Isaac, for the first time in his life, was trying to be impulsive here and now. And what does he do? Give it to the wrong son. Isaac's life. Oh, poor guy.
Part of that might have been because he knew his death was nearing, and he wanted to make sure it was taken care of.
And sure, yeah, that could have been. However, he would be wrong. Isaac is not very close to death. In fact, he's got at least 20 years. Yeah, he doesn't know that. But, and you know, in the grand scheme of things, he's like 100, so maybe 20 years is nothing. But, you know, he's got a while. It's not like he's on his deathbed, interestingly. Yeah.
Well, and the weird thing is that Jacob is going to reciprocate this kind of blessing later on.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to see. So, a question that, if you're reading your text critically, should be, what is God doing?
Laughing.
Probably. Probably giving a little bit of a giggle. Why does it seem, though, that God is rewarding deception?
It's his covenant is
What?
his plan is more important.
Okay, whoa, hold on. So his plan involves liars? I sure hope so, because I'm a liar. Okay. So this is interesting because as we move on, we're going to get to the great... Who sings that song, The Stairway to Heaven?
Led Zeppelin.
Okay, we're going to get to the great Led Zeppelin inspired hit, The Gateway to Heaven, Stairway to Heaven. But what was God's sign that he was with Isaac? Anyone remember? Isaac, yeah, the first one. How much harvest did Isaac get? 100-fold. Physically impossible. A miracle. What happened right before that story?
God renews the promise.
God renews the promise, and right before that, Isaac lies about Rebekah. Okay? After you've done something not super great, God seems to come in and says, that wasn't awesome, but I'm still with you. Here we see Jacob needs to go on the run. And what I love about this is that does he get the birthright? Does he get the stuff? No. He has to run. And by all accounts in the rest of the text, he never comes into that money. But what does he get? Yeah, and that was fun to get, wasn't it?
He gets the blessing, but he didn't always recognize it as
Yeah, he gets the blessing. And here we go. So a lot of times we're going to look at this story and we're going to see like a ladder. In fact, anyone heard of Jacob's ladder? Some of your headings are actually going to even be Jacob's ladder. That's not quite accurate. That's a Western interpretation of this story. More than likely, it's more like a bridge. And what they're heading up to is, anyone heard of what a ziggurat is? Yeah, it's a tower, much like Babel, to be honest with you. A ziggurat was a place of worship, mostly pagan gods. But at this time, what does God not have? Yeah, a place for worship. And so a ziggurat is going to be the thing that Jacob would recognize as a place of worship, and the angels are going up to this place. Jacob actually calls this place Ha-Makaom, or the place. It's really actually quite funny, because in the Hebrew, Jacob is in a place, it's called nowhere's nowhere. Meaning that if Oklahoma is nowhere, you are in Guyman, Oklahoma. You are in nowhere's nowhere, my friend.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I know the town here close
Called nowhere?
called Nowhere.
Yes, yeah, okay. Well, I would say still nowhere is somewhere based on Guyman, Oklahoma. Yeah, okay, Fort Cobb, you can go to Nowhere, Oklahoma if you want. But no one wants to be in Guyman, Oklahoma. It is 100,000 degrees in the summer and negative 600 in the winter. It is not the place to be. I'm sorry for any of our internet watchers who are in Guyman, but that's just the truth of it. So that is where Jacob is. He's in nowhere's nowhere, but he calls this place Ha-Makaom, or the place. Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. So there you go, Guyman. Maybe you are Ha-Makaom, the place that we don't even realize God is there, even though he is. What is interesting about where Jacob is right now is he must flee. Before he flees, though, he is actually given kind of an official blessing by Isaac. It is a little bit more of like a, yeah, you seem to have tricked me the first time, but what's done is done. So here is the official, you have the covenant, so go ahead. And I believe that in this moment, Jacob probably is wondering, I wonder if that counts. And God is coming down to say, I will be with you. Even though the way you did this was not great, I will be with you. Just like he does for his father, Isaac. The way you did this was not great, but I will be with you. That does not mean that there won't be consequences. Okay? One thing that I think, and we're running out of time, so one thing I want to say about forgiveness and mercy and grace. God is full of forgiveness and mercy and grace. That is what makes him such a wonderful God to serve. Does that mean that we are exempt from the consequences of our actions? No. We are forgiven for our actions, but there are still consequences. Abraham learned this lesson hard with Hagar. Isaac will learn this lesson hard with Esau, and Jacob will learn this lesson hard with Laban. You are forgiven, but there are still going to be consequences. Hannah.
Because consequences and punishments are not the same.
Absolutely 100% correct. Consequences and punishments are not the same. God is not punishing Jacob, but he is letting the consequences of his actions come upon him. And in fact, what we are going to talk about here is Jacob's exile. Now, whenever you hear exile, what do you think of? Babylon. Okay, yeah, so Israel goes into exile. Any other times that there is exile in the Bible? Judges. Okay, what do you mean by that?
The whole book.
The whole book. Okay, yes, yeah. So the repentance cycle. Yeah. Cain, exile. Okay, who else?
Israel was exiled to Syria.
Adam and Eve, Israel, John the Apostle, okay, on Patmos. Priscilla and oh, well, that's more like death. But yeah, yeah. Oh no, Priscilla and Aquila. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Ananias and Sapphira.
They were kicked out. Because
Right, yes, yeah. Is exile always bad?
At this moment,
At the moment, yes. Does God use exile? 100%. Some other characters that are going to be in exile is actually the author of this book. Moses. Murders the Egyptian and goes into exile. Leads the people in exile for 40 years. Does that... Those are consequences. Does that mean God doesn't use the exile? No. It means that this is a time of growth. And we will see that 100% in Jacob. Jacob is going to have a time of incredible growth while in exile. And it's because he is going to meet... This is the most famous rivalry in all of the Bible, I would say. Name two better rivals than Jacob and Laban. Laban, we've already met. Who is Laban? Rebekah's brother. And what do we know about Rebekah? She's a wily little devil, isn't she? So, what do we guess about Laban? Actually, we already know this about Laban with his dealings with Rebekah, but now we know it for sure because we know his sister had to learn it from somewhere. Oopsie. Oh, yeah. And we are at the well. Okay? What happens at wells? You get water. Yeah, sure. What has happened at wells in Genesis so far?
usually angels show up.
Angels show up because there's something happening.
The Samaritan woman, or are you talking?
No. What happens in wells in Genesis?
He has to redo them.
Yeah, we meet our wives at wells, my friend. Okay, so if you are single and wanting to know, go to a well. Maybe you'll get lucky. As a mama's boy, I must make this point. I love my mama, and Jacob loved his mama. And this is probably one of the sadder parts of this story. Rebekah tells Jacob, I'll tell you when things cool down and you can come back. That message never gets sent. And in fact, as we know it in the text, when Jacob leaves to flee Esau, this is the last time he sees his mommy. What is incredibly interesting about Rebekah, the character, is that almost every other matriarch gets a burial narrative. Sarah gets a whole chapter. You know what Rebecca gets? She gets a passing mention in Egypt. In fact, it's at Jacob's deathbed where he says, "Take me back to the tomb where my mom and dad are buried." That's the only mention we get that Rebecca dies. After this, we don't hear of Rebecca. Deception has a cost. And it costs this relationship, sadly. Jacob will never see his mother again. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why I think he's so drawn to Rachel, is that Rachel, we're going to see, probably reminds him of his mother in some ways. But honestly, I'm so sad because the story we're going to tackle next is going to take too much time, so we need to end early. Can you believe that? So read ahead and learn about Jacob's time with Laban. It is a time of exile and a time of growth. And I want us to come back and talk about some questions that we have about this. Okay?
Can I mention one last thing?
Yes, yeah.
Before Jacob is sent off, there is a passage here that's important, and that is that Esau takes a Hittite wife, and that actually becomes a hardship for both Isaac and Rebekah.
Yes, and actually what's even more interesting is he takes another wife from where? Anyone remember?
No, Ishmael.
Ishmael! What's funny about Esau is he tries. He tries his best. It's like, oh, you wanted me to get a wife from the family? I didn't know that. I'll get one from Ishmael. Swing and a miss, Esau. Okay, so thanks for playing, though. All right. Thank you for your attention. We'll go ahead and close. But